Give me a minute and let's respond to Ollie P's question. Peter, do you think France have upped the ante because of what's happening in Africa? And the short answer is I don't know. I don't know why Macron has upped the ante. But there are a couple of things that we can talk about. The situation in Africa is extremely complex. The French, of course, had an extensive colonial presence in Africa. And what we have seen is Russia undermining African governments. Mali, Burkina Faso, Sudan, the list goes on, right? At least four governments have been overthrown by pro-Russian forces in four countries. And they are active in another dozen countries. Right now, Ukrainian special forces are hunting Wagner troops in Sudan. And so the situation in Africa is a complex situation. And there are certainly many folks who blame the French for a lot of the problems there. And that's not without some historical merit either, right? What France is doing about it, I'm not entirely certain. When I think about how France has upped the ante, though, they've certainly upped the ante with Ukraine and now with Israel. On the Israel-Palestine front, they have just drafted a resolution to be submitted to the UN Security Council that calls not only for a ceasefire, but recognizes the existence implicitly of a Palestinian state, which is huge, right? That's what we need, is a two-state solution, and that's what Netanyahu is stopping, so that he can continue his aggressive campaign of slaughter and land theft for his own purposes. Let's be realistic about it, right? And so we need leverage to stop them from going into Rafah. We need leverage to get Netanyahu back into reality. And acknowledging the existence of a Palestinian state might just do the trick. At the very least, it certainly gives the Biden administration more leverage with Netanyahu. And so you're right, Ollie. Macron has upped the stakes, boy. What's he done in the Ukraine situation? I mean, not only do we see huge military support and just kind of political support from the Macron administration, but additionally, when Olaf Scholz said that there will never be NATO boots on the ground in Ukraine, he said, whoa, hang on a second there, Olaf, right? Hold my Chardonnay. I'm not ruling out not sending troops to Ukraine. And then a bunch of other countries jumped on board with that too. Because when you're in a situation like this, what you don't do is tell the enemy what you won't do. And it could be that Macron is seeing an opportunity, right? Like we know what Russia's about. Russia's about its restoring its old imperialist ambitions, restoring the Russian Empire, restoring the Soviet Union. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Let's not forget France had an empire of its own. There is a term in diplomatic circles, the lingua franca, which is the language of diplomacy. And the lingua franca, that is the French language, was the language that for 200 years all diplomatic conversations were handled in. That has changed. Today, that language is English, right? And increasingly, English is the lingua franca of the 21st century. It could be that Macron sees an opportunity in America's wrestling with its own Trumpian demons and abandoning our position as a leader in the world to kind of reassert that French leadership role. And he's doing it. There's no doubt about it. He's doing it. By challenging Scholz on the boots on the ground, by harnessing a coalition of other NATO and non-NATO EU members that would say, yeah, we're not ruling out not sending troops to Ukraine. Russia should be on notice. They keep saying they're fighting all of NATO. Bullshit. When NATO shows up, this thing will be over fucking fast. It's the last thing Putin wants, is to have to fight NATO now, when his stockpiles of ammunition and weapons are so badly depleted. Sanctions are making it hard to replace them. He's having to bring in secondhand stuff from North Korea. I mean, the guy is having a rough time of it. And good. So, Ali, what the relationship to the African problems is, I don't know. I really don't. But on other fronts, we can see France stepping up and asserting themselves as leaders in the world, absent America on the stage. While we're busy dealing with Moscow Mike trying to get a basic funding bill through and the government not shut down, trying to get Congress to do its basic job, as this guy in charge just whittles away his own majority through his inaction and incompetence, France is stepping up. And so are the Baltics, so are the Scandinavian countries, so is Germany. I mean, there's nobody in Europe except Austria. The Austrians are really flagging, boy. But everybody else is really stepping up for Ukraine, in my opinion. Even Slovakia and Iceland signed on to the Czech Shell Initiative this week. And those are countries without the GDP that a lot of Europe has. So I don't know if that helps or not, Ali, but I think those are some of the things that I see happening with France in the world today. Allons enfants de la patrie, les jours de gloire est arrivé.